Welcome, everyone, to the Squid and ULF Fan Show. I'm Mike Wilson, the Ultimate Leafs fan. Joining me, as always, my winger, Ricky Squid Vibe. Squid, things have been quiet on the NHL hockey front. Now they've even gotten quieter on the World Junior front.
Oh, everything's quiet everywhere, Mike. I think right now, except for the U.S., obviously, but in our country, everything is kind of getting scaled back. And wow, I mean, I didn't see this coming. I
Nope.
really didn't. But you know, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, when you got a thing like this going through the world, and we're all part of it, and they make decisions based on certain things, and that's what happened. And I mean, I hear all this stuff on the news and everything that they're all, sad for the kids and all that. Well, you know what? They're going to get another opportunity. They're young kids. I mean, yeah, there's some that are 19 that will not get another chance in the World Juniors, but they probably already won a gold or another medal. But these younger kids, they're going to get other opportunities. It's going to happen probably next year. They're more than likely there'll be a tournament. Who knows? Like the world women's under 18. The U.S. said that they're going to try and arrange to do it later on in the year. It might happen with the World Juniors too.
Yeah, you know what? You never know. I mean, but we're going to show our listeners today our improv skills because we've got to sort of cup this as we go along because we just got this one at the World Juniors was canceled. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about this Canadian roster that was loaded. With one, possibly three number one overall picks playing on this hockey club. Whereas going to go with this is going to set it up is that we had Owen Power, who was last year's number one pick. It looks like Shane Wright could be this year's and Connor Bernard could be next year's. Well, Power had a hat trick the opening night. Bernard had one last night. Well, Bobby Wright was going to get one tonight against Germany, I thought, to set the stage for the three of them. So now they've taken us away from the Squid.
Yeah, well, I mean, Mike, you know what? They're trying to stifle us. I think they hear us, and they said we got to shut those guys up. Like they're coming out with too many good things about our World Juniors or the NHL or whatever, and they know we're very, very smart, and we come out with some really good things about hockey, and so they're trying to quiet us. I think, Mike.
I think you're right, Scott. I think you're right. Now, it was only two games, and they really were going to get a good test tonight. The real test would have probably come Friday against Finland. Who, besides those three, who stood out for you? Anybody in particular?
No, not really. I mean, if you look at the other division, I mean, it was pretty darn close division. I mean, you had a couple of bad teams at the bottom. It's like that every year when you go to the World Championships or the World Juniors. There's always a couple of weak teams in each division at the bottom. But other than that, I mean, it was like three or four teams in that division, and probably in the Canadian division, I don't think Canada would have had a problem there. But then again, anything can happen in a one-game elimination game, as we all know.
Well, I was referring to some of the kids. I love the game of this. Mason McTavish, he really impressed me a lot the way he handles the puck. And Cole Perfetti was another one. They both caught my eye and seemed to stand out. And as we've discussed on this show many times, the puck seems to be around them all the time, and that is no accident, or that's not a fluke.
No, I mean these kids they're all pretty darn good hockey players. I mean, it's unbelievable, the skill level that they have, and that Johnson kid from Michigan, Kent Johnson. I mean, there's another kid. I mean, these guys they had so much talent on that hockey team, and I don't know if they were going to lose a game. And all of those guys are going to go play in the NHL at some point in their life. There's no question about that. Depends on how it goes. Depends on the individual. Depends on health. All those kinds of things, as we all know. But they were all going to make the NHL and get an opportunity to play big roles.
Well, what impressed me the most about them, and I think you'll agree with this, is the fact that they ability to make plays when there isn't a play. I mean, it's almost like that old saying, making chicken soup out of chicken feathers. And I mean, not just one or two of them, they all seem to have that ability. And that seems to be the new age player where they're looking to make a play before coughing the puck up.
Well, I mean, that's the way the game has gone, Mike. I mean, it's gone in that direction, right? So you need when you're young and you're making your way up to junior hockey and beyond, you need to learn those skills because you know that that is how the game is played now, and you need to be prepared for that. And I mean, you know, I'm reading a thing on Kakanyemi, who Carolina signed to the offer sheet, and they said they don't regret it. Well, you know, they were talking about that, and specifically was that Carolina likes to play a high paced game, and fast game, and he wasn't used to that. He's used to slowing things down and making plays. And then he also was playing the wing instead of his natural position of center. So he struggled at the beginning when he got moved to center because a couple of guys were out of the lineup. Then all of a sudden he started, you know, putting up points and putting the puck in the net and started playing a faster game. But that's what it's all about now. And every kid on that Canadian team has that ability, and a lot of the kids on the Americans. I noticed the one kid on I think it was on the Finnish team. And I can't remember his name. Probably wouldn't be able to say it anyway. But I mean, he scored some unbelievable goals in the tournament. So, you know, there's a lot of great hockey players in that tournament in general.
And the 17-year-old Russian is another one. The way he handled the puck, he was scoring every game also.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is we want to kind of reflect back. We've only got the 2 games to go off of, but we've talked about this before. But you played on the first World Junior team in '78 that included players from across the country for the first time. Now you had a 16-year-old in that club who wore number 99, who led the league, led the tournament in scoring. But your Canadian team, and you've touched on it already. There's no lock on anything. Listen to this lineup. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 guys that didn't play in the National Hockey League. Like you had a lineup of yourself, Gretzky, Mike Gardner, Ryan Walter, Bobby Smith, Rob Ramage, Craig Hartsburg, Brad McCrimmon, Wayne Babbage, just name a couple. Every guy in that club played 300 games.
There was only one guy that did not play an NHL game, and that was Patrick Daly, who was one of the Quebec League players who played on the line with Rick Patterson and myself. And everybody else, I think, played at least 400 NHL games, I believe.
And you guys finished
that
third.
First round.
And you finished third.
And we finished third. So that's how good the Russians and the Swedes were, who won the gold and silver, respectively. They were pretty darn good back then. I mean, the Russians had all their top players from that era were on that hockey club, and same with the Swedes. Mats Naslund before he came to the Canadians, all those guys, they were all on that hockey team in Sweden. So, you know, hey, we had a good team. I'll be honest with you. I think we had the guy, can't remember his name right now, but he coached New Westminster, was the head coach. And our club was made up.
Ern McLean?
Punch McLean. Yeah, Punch McLean. And anyway, we had a lot of players on our team that I think maybe weren't suited for the World Junior, for that type of stage against teams that were that talented. But we went with them, and hey, they ended up being good NHL players. Don't get me wrong; they were good hockey players. But at the time, they didn't fit that style of play when we got up against the Russians and the Swedes. And I think that's why we ended up with the bronze. But nevertheless, hey, like I said, there's 3-4 teams every year that could win it. And all you need on any given night or 2 nights in a row is a hot goalie, and you win a goal.
Well, that happened to Canada at the Olympics. Remember?
Yeah.
We painfully went through all of that with teams like Switzerland and Germany. Anyway, we don't want to get into all that. We don't want to upset ourselves and ruin our New Year's coming into that. But now, maybe touch on, in '78, you guys are the first to compete in a world championship in that format. Very much unlike today, where the buildup is so much more TSN's involvement and all that. But it was only 6 years after the Summit Series, a couple of years after we moved from the Canada Cup. What kind of expectations were on you guys going into that tournament? Or did you feel any, or were you just there to play?
No, there was a fair bit of expectancy that we were going to win a gold medal. I think everybody in Canada was looking at us to win a gold medal and saying that we could. Now, and I'm not saying that we couldn't. I think we were almost as good as the Soviets and the Swedes. But on those particular nights that we had to play them, they were better than us, and they performed better than us. Now, would I say that we weren't as good as them? No, I think we were. I think we had a good enough team that we were as good as those teams on paper, but on the ice, we didn't get the job done.
Now, they talk about the World Juniors being one of these defining moments in a kid's career. Never mind what he does moving forward, that this is embedded in their genre, their mindset. They carry this forever. You go back to 1978. So when this tournament comes around every year, do you feel that do you get a kind of a tingly feeling or some sort of, feeling that you're a part of this, or you were a part of it at one point, and you have that outward emotion for these kids and what they could be going through, and that it's just something that you can understand?
Yeah, a little bit, Mike. I mean, obviously it was a long time ago, 40
Yeah.
some odd years ago.
Still,
So, you're not going to have the same feeling as if it was 10 or 15 years ago. Yeah, I mean, it's a special tournament. It's a special thing for the kids that are playing in that tournament. There's no question. And it was for me. I'm sure it was for everybody else that were my teammates during that tournament. And especially being the first time that they picked an all-star team from across the country to represent Canada in the World Juniors was a pretty special thing to be a part of. I got to tell you, it was unbelievable. And yeah, every year I hope for the kids that they get the job done and know what it's like, that if you don't, the feeling you have when you leave the tournament, knowing that you didn't get the job done, you didn't bring home the gold, pretty disappointing. But at the end of the day, your life has to go on, and you're all going to be great hockey players in the best league in the world. And, put that behind you and then move on.
well, speaking of the best league in the world, games are being postponed. I see they're being postponed for reasons of lack of attendance. We know the league started off $1 billion in the hole to start the year. It's about the money. And I would suggest they will be playing till August. They'll be playing till next September to get these 82 games in and get the playoffs in, because let's face it, it's a business, and the business is in the hole right now, and they've got to climb their way back.
Yeah, Mike, I'll make a big prediction right now that the league will shut down at some point in the near future for a period of time for 3-4 weeks, and then they'll hopefully get it back on track, and then maybe play in July, sort of the same thing that they did last year. And I think you'll see a Stanley Cup handed out. I don't think that won't happen this year. But my belief is that it'll be sometime in July rather than June.
Well, the good news for Leaf fans is that Mitch Marner now, 8 games back on the schedule. Leafs have only played 30 games. So he's back. He's back in his regular spot with Matthews and Bunting. Leafs have 52 games left to play. And here we are a couple of days from January 1st. So to your point,
what saddens me the most is that they were playing so well. I mean, they were on a roll, and then all of a sudden, boom! Everything gets postponed or canceled, whatever you want to call it, and then now they're sitting around for. They may be sitting around for, who knows how long. But I mean, as long as Canada doesn't allow 100% capacity in the buildings in the country, then they're not going to play games in Canada, because they need, as you mentioned, Mike, they need that money. They need the revenues coming in, and with 50% fans and not being able to buy food or drinks or anything in the rink, they're losing money. So
yeah, exactly.
I could see a 3 or 4 week pause coming, and I'm kind of worried about it because I don't know how that's going to affect a team like Toronto that was playing so darn good, when they come back, and if they do go into some kind of a pause. And even now they've been sitting around for what, 2.5 weeks?
Oh yeah.
By the time they play, and who knows if that's good for them or bad for them. It's good because they're getting some injured guys back. The guys that were in the protocol will probably be back by the time they start playing again. But what about all the guys that, didn't go into protocol or anything? I mean, I don't even know if are they still practicing?
They're practicing every day. And, the point they're making is that it's unlike training camp where you've been probably on the ice a couple of days before you jumped on training camp. They've been off because they've been isolated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been, Tavares talked about the struggles he had and really struggling and catching his wind and catching his hockey breath and his hockey mindset. And it was really difficult.
Well, sitting around for 7 to 10 days and not doing anything, and that'll take a while to get your win back. There's no question about that.
They're supposed to play Saturday. The Ottawa game is still on,
right?
Yeah. Well, no, there's on this Saturday, January 1st. That game is still on. The 2 games next week are canceled. And then the Montreal game next week, and Montreal is apparently still going, but they haven't canceled them yet. So
no, I know they got. I saw the schedule. They do have them up there, but
yeah,
my guess is they're probably going to end up postponing them.
Yeah.
And hoping that they can get them in February. But if things keep going the way they are in our country, Mike, the government's not going to allow them to have 100% capacity or 50% capacity. And so they won't be playing games in Canada. And you saw today, the NHL announced that they reduced the quarantine time from 10 days to 5 days. Well, but that doesn't apply to Canada. So, so all the Canadian teams, if one guy gets COVID, he's out for 10 days because he has to quarantine for 10 days. Now, that may change for the NHL players. I don't know. I'm not going to stand here and say that I know everything the government's going to do because I don't. But the NHL did it, but it doesn't apply to Canada as of right now.
Well, all we can sit and hope and wait. So, Squid, I know we haven't had a lot to say today, but it's that time again.
Oh, baby. Here we go.
Here we go. So, the obvious wish is just not for Leafs, but for all of us to stay healthy. So moving forward. So here's today's quote. It'll be based on that for the thought of the day. And we know all the Leafs are listening. So here you go. This is for you guys. The first step to getting anywhere is deciding you're not willing to stay where you are.
I like that one.
I like that one.
I like that one. If you want to move on and get better, you got to do more, right? So I think that's really good.
Well, the point being is that if you've been sick, you're not feeling under the weather, you're feeling this, forget about it, move forward. Move away from that and move forward. And Squid, I'm surprising you today. I got a bonus quote. It's New Year's.
Oh.
So we're going to give you New Year's because everybody, we're 2 days from New Year's. People make all kinds of promises, especially 2 nights from now after some liquid inspiration. So this one's for all of you out there. Now, here's where we're going to go with this one. So everybody pay attention to this one. And Maple Leafs, you can do this one too. You don't need a new year to make a change. All you need is a Monday. And guess what? New Year's happens to fall on Friday, New Year's Eve, and Monday. Guess what? There you are.
Yeah, hey, I like it. You know what? It's funny. The Rock, he came on and said, guys, it's going to be a new year pretty soon, but I'm not waiting. I'm starting today. And he said, I'm going to hit the gym. And I've been doing the same thing, actually, for several days on my treadmill and doing a little bit of weightlifting. Not a whole lot. I can't lift a whole lot at my age. But as much as I can to keep myself in decent shape in case our alumni games happen. And well, they've all been pushed back now to, I think the earliest one is in March, and then there's some in April. So hopefully, fingers crossed that those games happen and we get to go out and meet the fans and have a good time and get together with your old teammates and guys you didn't play with that played for the Maple Leafs. And we have a ton of fun. It's a blast. And hopefully we get to do that.
Well, I do too. Because I was planning on tagging along with you that I want to March, particularly the outdoor game in Hamilton. So hopefully that one's still on.
Well, that one is tentative still, but
exactly.
hopefully it's going to happen.
hopefully we can get that one underway. Well, folks.
Well, I'm pretty sure that outdoor game will go on regardless. The Maple Leafs and Buffalo, and hopefully they have that alumni game the day before, as they're trying to get it organized.
Well, folks, that's it for today. Next week, same time, same place. Don't forget to tune into this week's Squid and ULF Leaf Fan podcast. We're running a best of this week, so it drops Friday at 6 o'clock, so prepare for that. And we're going to get back to our regular scheduling next week. Hoping everyone has a great New Year's. Let's get the NHL back safe and sound and playing sooner than later. We do want that. We do want that sooner than later. Let's hope the Leafs keep going forward and listen to today's quote again, folks. And we'll talk to you next week.